Okay guys, so this is just one of the topics that we have not covered yet during our normal class session due to this COVID-19 pandemic. So let me show to you how to compute a person hour correlation using Excel worksheet. I have here a pre-worksheet that I prepared that I wanted to correlate the academic performance of the learners and the teacher's classroom management. Actually, this classroom management is associated with the methods of teaching from the data that I collected. So, sorry, collected by teachers who have done her thesis writing. Okay, so I have here the data, the assessment on the teacher's method of teaching and classroom management, assessed by 35 respondents. And I also have here, along with that data, I also have here the results of the post-test of the students in English. So, we have the main score. Going back to our worksheet, we need to copy those data to this worksheet to compute for the y minus mean column, x minus y column, y minus mean, the sum of the product column, and the summation of the squared value of x column, and the column for the summation of the y value. So let us start copying the files. First, we will copy the files of the teachers, then paste in here on the teacher's classroom management, and also we will copy the students mean score from the post-test results, then paste this one on column Y, signifying the academic performance of the learners. So now we are ready to compute for the x minus mean. To compute for the value of this column, this is simply the average of this column to be subtracted from each rows of this x column. So to do that, simply write the formula as equals to the sum. There are so many formula that can be used. Sum of this row minus the mean. Okay, close the formula, enter. Here we go. So we got this value. But because we will going to subtract each rows in here by the one value that is the mean, we can fix the value of mean in this formula by simply clicking on this formula here. So once you have the cursor before the C42 column, then simply press F4. That is to fix the value so that dollar sign would appear like this. Okay, so once you have this, we can now drag down to copy all the computation. Okay, so likewise, to compute for the value of the y minus mean column, we can also simply subtract the mean of this y column, the academic performance of the students, from each row scores. So to do that, simply do the same formula as we did in the x minus mean column, subtracted by its average, and here we go. Okay, so likewise, we would also like to put a fixed value of the mean in this column. So click here, then press F4. After pressing F4, the dollar sign would appear this way. Then we have now the correct formula. Copy it down by dragging or by copying, so that everything will have its own computed value. So now we are ready to compute for the column of the summation of the product. Actually, this is just the product of the x minus min column and the y minus min column. We call this one as the summation of product because our main target is the summation of the product down here in this portion. This is actually the summation of the product, but everything in here in this column is just the product of the x minus min and the y minus min column. But by the way, before I forget, I have to compute we have to compute for the summation of these columns. All these columns will have its own summation. So, but I need to emphasize that the summation for these two columns, the x minus min and the y minus min column, should be equals to 0. And that is how we do it in the Pearson R correlation. If this is not 0, then there must be something wrong with our formula. So to start with, we have to compute for the summation. So add all, drag it down all the way down to the last row to compute for the sum. Then we have the 0. So it's a 0 value. Let us try on the other. Copy the formula, paste on the other side. It's also 0. So that means we got a correct computation for these two columns. So now we will also have to compute for the column of the summation of the product. This is simply the product of these two columns. So to compute for that one, simply get the product, this column multiplied by this y minus min column, enter, and we have the value. So drag it down to copy all the formula until you get it in here. Okay, so we can also copy this formula here to this column for the summation, and we got this value. Okay, I will retain the color. I will go back to orange to signify the okay. Guys, this coloration has nothing to do with my computation. These are just indicators, so as not for me to be confused which column I am referring to. Okay, so now we are ready to compute for the column of the summation of squared value of x and summation for the squared value of y. To compute for this column, this is simply a squared value. For this SSX, this is simply a squared value of x minus min column. So to do that, simply get this value, the squared value of this one, then press shift number 6 so that this cap symbol will appear on your formula, and then type number 2, close, then enter. You got this value. Okay, as you can see, there are multiple sharp signs or hashtag signs in our cell. This is because there are so many decimal places that cannot be accommodated by this cell. So to view this actual value, one of the options is just to simply expand to widen this cell, and here we go. We see the actual value. Now, because we only need 2 decimal places, we can simply click here, decreasing the decimal places, click, 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 keep on clicking until we obtain the desired number of decimal places. Okay, so we can now drag it down to copy the formula down the row, and then we can also copy this formula here, put it there on the other side. We have now the summation. Okay, now the last column, we will be computing also for the value of the summation of the squared value of y. So likewise, this is just also the squared value of y minus the mean. So to do that, going through the same process as in SSX, okay, we got the value. So we are all appearing also is the multiple hashtag signs. So just click on here and then keep on clicking this decreasing decimal places, click, click, click and click until you can see the diminishing number of decimal places. Okay, now we have only 2 decimal places. Drag it down to copy all the formula down below the row. Then we can copy any of this formula for the summation. Okay, so we have this summation. And now we are ready to compute for the R value. This is the one that we need to compute. Okay, so what is R? How to compute for the R? We have this formula here. We have this formula. Okay, formula for the computation of R is it is the value of the summation of the product, this value, divided by the square root of the value of the summation of the squared value of x multiplied by the summation of the squared value of y, this value. So to perform the operation of the formula, we can have it this way. Okay, this will be equals to the value of the summation of the product divided by the square root of the value of the summation of the squared value of x multiplied by the value of the summation of the squared value of y, then close the formula. Here we go. So what we get is 0.64. So with this 0.64, what does it mean? Now we need to interpret our computed value of R. And we have here the conceptual scale on the significant relationship. So this means we have a negative and positive. So our case, we got a positive value, so we can now disregard this negative correlation. We will go to the positive correlation. So what do we have now? This scale says if the computed value is 0 to 0.20, that indicates a very weak relationship. If that is 0.21 to 0.40, that shows a weak correlationship. In our case, we got 0.64, so it's over here, 0.64. So this is the value, this one. Okay, so that means the academic performance of the pupils has a strong relationship to the teacher's classroom management. So the null hypothesis for this is supposedly there is no significant relationship between the academic performance of the learners and the teacher's classroom management. Okay, so with the computed value of R that we have now, we are rejecting the null hypothesis. In short, the null hypothesis is rejected because this value of R manifests the significant relationship. Therefore, it says that there is a significant relationship between the academic performance of the learners and the teacher's classroom management. Hence, the teacher's classroom management has a significant impact academic performance of learners. That's all, guys. That is how we compute for the correlation using person R on Excel, and that is the way how we interpret the results of R using the conceptual scale on significant relationship. Okay, keep safe everyone. Stay home to help our government fight this COVID-19 pandemic. God bless.